Okay, guys, and we're back with another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest. I'm Seth from the Lonely Solo podcast, and this is episode 52 of my side quest. Now, in this episode, we're going to be talking about Rafael Fiziev's recent discussions about moving down to featherweight. Now, this doesn't come out of nowhere for me because I think Fiziev, he's lost a couple fights at lightweight. He's looking at it thinking he's probably not going to get a title shot, and even if he was to get a title shot, probably wouldn't beat Islam. He was currently ranked number 11 when he fought Justin Gaethje. He lost that fight. And he's probably looking at the rankings thinking he's even further away from the top 10 now. So I moved down to featherweight, tactically, may make some sense. If Fiziev believes that he can cut the additional £10 and still be as effective at lightweight as he was at featherweight, then it may be a good move for him. But at the same breath, it's going to be hard to cut an additional £10. But Fiziev made a 155 on short notice, so maybe the weight cut's not that crazy to him. He's not the biggest guy at 155 in terms of his height. I want to say he's like 5'8", so he's pretty short, but he's very muscular. He's built, he's quite wide, he's built like a brick, built like a fridge, and he's got serious power, especially in those kicks. If he can make 145 and keep that power and keep that explosiveness in his kicks and strikes in particular, then I can see him having some joy at featherweight. But I'm going to have a look at the featherweight rankings and think, okay, maybe you can break into the top 10, but you still wouldn't be able to beat the top tier featherweights. In my opinion, it's what my belief is. But Fiziev's a fighter that I really do like. I really enjoy his style. Obviously, he's a former Muay Thai world champion, dedicated, his life to Muay Thai and striking, and then comes into MMA and has a lot of success. Was formerly ranked in the top 10. Now was kind of falling out of the top 10, but I remember the fight with Mark Diakiese during at the Apex during the lockdown times, and the whip behind those kicks, the sound, I'll never forget that sound. He was absolutely ripping Mark Diakiese with those kicks. And it's stuff like that which reminds me, like, this guy is a world-class fighter. He just needs to show it more often. And he showed it in elements against Justin Gaethje, but Justin Gaethje ultimately won that fight, and I believe Gaethje did win that fight. Fiziev had an interesting first round when he was going for takedowns and actually got some takedowns against Justin Gaethje, but the next two rounds, he wasn't able to sort of build in the momentum in the fight, and Justin Gaethje kind of took over the fight and won it. So I understand Fiziev's potentially wanting to move down to featherweight, thinking, like I said, I'm even further away from the top 10 at lightweight now. Let's try my luck at featherweight. And looking at the featherweight rankings, the thing is, so we look at number 15, right? Dan Ige, I think he beats Dan Ige. Calvin Kattar, I think he beats him. Bryce Mitchell, I fancy him against Bryce Mitchell. Yusuf Zalal, I fancy him against pretty much anyone that's ranked 15 to 10. Then you've got Aljamain Sterling at number 9. Now, Aljamain Sterling was a huge bantamweight, but he was no lightweight. Fiziev is a lightweight coming down, and Aljamain's striking is pretty poor. It's pretty poor, all things considered. He got clipped by Sean O'Malley in what was just rudimentary mistakes. Like, he was just walking forward with his chin up, hands down, chin up. Like, no, Aljo, you're not a good striker like that to be able to do that against Sean O'Malley. And even defensively, he's not good enough to probably evade some of those kicks that Fiziev's going to throw at him. But maybe he doesn't need to. I say that because, let's say Fiziev throws a kick in Aljamain catches it and takes him down. Aljamain could finish Fiziev on the ground. So that could definitely happen. But Fiziev could also knock out Aljamain. But for the sake of the video, let's assume he can beat him. Josh Bennett, I fancy him against Josh Bennett. Fancy him against Arnold Allen. Fancy him against Brian Ortega. That takes him up to down in the top 5 now, where you've got Yair Rodriguez, who that would be like a 50-50 fight to me, in my opinion. That would be like a 50-50 fight. They're both strikers. Yair's got a tricky style. It's a hard style to figure out, a hard style to beat, even though he has been beaten. A guy like Fiziev, who's purely a striker as well, I could see this being a very tricky matchup for him, and Yair could potentially win a decision. But again, Fiziev's going to have the power to keep anyone honest at featherweight. anyone else. He hits them with a couple of body kicks. He's keeping them honest, and that's going to change their game plan significantly for whoever he faces at featherweight. So yeah, we'll see what's next for Rafael Fiziev. I think he'd probably top out at around the top 5 if he was to make a run at featherweight. Obviously now he's got some miles on the clock now. He's been through some big fights, taken some damage. But let's see what's next for Rafael Fiziev. Like I said, one of my favourite fighters, and would be interesting to see if he was go down to featherweight, what sort of run he could go on. And like I'm saying, I'm looking at the stylistic matchups. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Rafael Fiziev touch him, comfortably in the top 10, touching top 5 at featherweight in a few years' time after he gets a few fights under his belt. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about Fiziev going down to featherweight. That's it. That's it from me. Another episode of the Side Quest in the bag, episode 52, and I'm out. Peace.